What's going on, guys? It is rebuild time on the channel yet again, and today we are taking our talents to newly promoted Bournemouth. Now, they were promoted in second place out of the Championship last season, find themselves in the Premier League for the 2022-2023 season, and the Cherries actually started the campaign really positively, beating Aston Villa at home on the opening day of the Premier League season. So what I'm going to be doing is taking charge of that, ousting Scott Parker, and seeing what I can do over the course of 5 years. We will be using a completely updated database with the most recent transfers up to the point that I started this rebuild. So obviously they do take a little bit of time, so any frequently or most recently added transfers will not be in this, but most of them are there as we ready ourselves to take Bournemouth into the Premier League again, and hopefully in the first instance see if we can keep them there. So without any further ado, let's dive into it. So guys, first and foremost, we are going to start things off by saying I haven't actually signed anybody in this particular instance, but there are other players that Bournemouth have signed in real life in this squad. I think Ryan Fredericks is one of them. 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 is another one. So we do have these sorts of players in the team. And I'm probably going to be trying to build this around Dominic Solanke actually for the most part. I also love Lloyd Kelly. He is a former Bristol City man. I am a Bristol City fan, so that would make some sense. But I'm not going to add to this team because I kind of want it to be as realistic as I can get it to how Bournemouth could potentially perform in the Premier League this season. So in terms of the tactic, I have put together this 4-2-4 using the width, and I'm hoping that 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 and Solanke can really do a job for me up top. Rothwell and Dembele on the wings, Pearson and 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 in the middle, Zamora, Kelly, Mepham and Fredericks as the back four, and Travers as the goalkeeper. Now, obviously, we are going back into the Premier League, so these are the three competitions we do have going into season number 1. We've got the Carabao Cup, where we will take on Cambridge United. We've also got the FA Cup. The board aren't judging on the relegation. They aren't judging on the FA Cup, sorry, but the main objective, avoid relegation from this Premier League. Now, I will say with the updated database, it hasn't worked fully. Obviously, the playoffs are a little bit of a crapshoot. It could be any team that comes up that are part of the playoffs. So in this instance, I will say Luton are the team in the Premier League. So we are now going to take a look at the season preview, which says we are odds of 250 to 1 to win the Premier League and predicted to finish in 19th, guys. So it's not great. Lots of work to do with Bournemouth. But before we simulate the first season, Bournemouth fans, if you are here, let me know down in the comment section how you think you're going to get on in this Premier League season in real life. A very good result on the opening day of the season. How are you going to get on? Obviously, this will come out after you've played Man City at the Etihad. So fingers crossed for you guys that that result went well. But obviously season 1 in the Premier League is going to be very interesting. Let's simulate and see how this 4-2-4 gets on. So then, guys, end of season 1, and we have avoided relegation out of the Premier League, which, as I said, was the main objective of the entire season. In the domestic cup competitions, we were knocked out in the 3rd round of the Carabao Cup by the hands of Chelsea. We were knocked out in the 4th round of the FA Cup by Watford, and we did finish inside the top 15, should I say, in the Premier League. Fulham, Crystal Palace and Luton being relegated. 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪, actually our top goal scorer in the Premier League, the Welsh international. 22 goals for him in the 35 appearances in all competitions. 6'5", massive jumping reach. I actually do quite like 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪. He's a type of player I'd enjoy in a PvP setting as well. But we did finish in 15th. So if we expand the Premier League, you can kind of see how things went for us. 13 victories, 7 draws, 18 defeats, 63 goals scored, and 75 goals against leads us to have a goal difference of -12. So we avoided relegation pretty comfortably, but don't get me wrong, we are a long way off those European places. But it is another year in the Premier League. The money continues to roll in. And speaking of money, going into season number 2 in this rebuild, we will be having £52 million to spend on this team. Now, looking at the statistics for the league, our issue was keeping the ball out of the back of the net. So let's go and get some defensive reinforcements. Before we jump into season number 2 of this Bournemouth rebuild in the Premier League, if you do like the rebuild content, please do consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel down below. Honestly, it really does help me out as we are closing in on 16,000 subscribers now, and that is all thanks to you guys. But if you are enjoying the rebuild content, please do drop it a sub, and let's move into season number 2. Right then guys, transfer update for season number 2 is right here, and it is right now. We have been out and we have spent some cash. No major outgoings on terms of things. Joe Rothwell is the only one who has left. He has gone to Aston Villa. He wanted to leave ourselves and has now taken a place with Villa. Coincidentally, the team that Bournemouth did beat on the first day of the Premier League season. In terms of our signings though, Ollie Watkins was transfer listed by Aston Villa. So we pick up Ollie Watkins for £10.25 million. Now, he was sensational in my rebuild of Aston Villa, so when he was available, I thought, why not pick him up? We also got Jamal Lewis as well. He was transfer listed at Newcastle. £2.4 million we paid for him. A fullback, bit of cover, really good physicality in terms of his natural fitness and his pace and stuff like that, so hoping he can add a little bit of a dynamic ability to us up and down this left hand side. We've then gone out and got former West Ham protege Reece Oxford. I remember when he broke onto the scene, he was very promising. He's been playing his football over in Germany, currently for _, who we then picked him up from. He is only 24 years of age, so he is still quite young. £2.3 million for Reece Oxford seems like a good little bit of business for me. Then in terms of another defensive reinforcement, we've got Matteo Lovato, a younger sort of Italian player, surprisingly not capped by the Italy first team just yet, but he comes in at a similar level as Chris Mepham, so I think he is going to be the main partnership with Chris Mepham with Reece Oxford as that backup, allowing Lloyd Kelly to fully play left back. So I'm really happy to bring him in. He comes in for £10.5 million, and he's always a player that you can always sell on for a good value. Moving things on, we did have a couple of deals done after the year flicks over. So Youssef Demir comes in from Rapid Vienna. Now, he is exceptional in this year's FM. I don't normally sign him because he usually goes for much more money than I usually have in these rebuilds, or goes earlier, but he was available for 15.25 million, which is his release clause, by the way, guys. If you did want to know about Youssef Demir, he does have that release clause in his contract, and he is an exceptional young footballer. We went out and signed 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪, a young player coming out of the Benfica Academy. The absolute production line for elite tier talent is Benfica, so please do go and check them out in your saves as well. But 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 comes in. He is of course a 5-star potential player for this team. I don't see him playing too much. Reiss Nelson comes in from Arsenal on a free transfer. We are playing a 4-2-4, so we need people, dynamic players who can play on both sides. Wingers can blow hot and cold in Football Manager, so Reiss Nelson is one of those players who comes in to play on both flanks for us. And then the final signing, the one I'm the most happy with, Nicolo Ravella comes in as a central midfielder. Now, if you've not seen him, Ravella, in my network game with Murph FM, I have this guy at Real Madrid, so I know he can clang and bang with some of the best talents in world football. So him at Bournemouth is a absolute steal. Juventus did not want him, so £10.75 million after a loan into the Serie C. Him playing in the Serie C is absolutely criminal. So this is the team going into season number 2. If we quick pick without restriction our best 11, this is how we're looking, but there are several players in here. Like, my assistant manager is putting Ravella on the bench. He will not be playing on the bench, I can assure you. So if we move Ravella into the central midfield, probably instead of Lerma, it'll be Travers, Stacey, Mepham, Lovato, Kelly, Ravella, Cook, Youssef Demir, Christie, Watkins and Solanke. And I have switched these two roles around. In season 1 it was a winger here and an inverted winger on this side, but obviously because of Youssef Demir and his attacking abilities, I've had to switch those two around. But everything else is obviously the same. Then Watkins and Solanke are going to be the guys to hopefully get the goals, being supplemented by that Kiefer Moore, who was top goal scorer for us last season. In terms of the cups and all the trophies we've got available to us, we are in the same 3 competitions. Ignore the Friendly Cup. We lost it in the final to Rangers, doesn't really matter. Carabao Cup, Emirates FA Cup, and in the Premier League, the board expectation is to avoid relegation again in season number 2. 300 to 1 to win the Premier League. So our odds are further away, but we are predicted to finish higher up the league. So we are predicted to finish in 15th this season, which is kind of about right for where we finished last year. So we are going to simulate season 2, guys. I'll see you at the end of it. Okay then, guys, what a powerful season we've had in season number 2. We have climbed that Premier League table and find ourselves in 7th, and we'll be playing Europa Conference League football in season number 3. Things have gone pretty well actually for us this time out. Quarter-finalists in the Carabao Cup, quarter-finalists in the FA Cup, knocked out by Chelsea and Aston Villa respectively, but we have really climbed that Premier League table. Dominic Solanke showing that he is a good level goal scorer, 22 goals for him in all competitions this season. He does look very well rounded, and I know Zealand used him in the Streamer Showdown as well, so we all know what Dominic Solanke can do. But we do finish inside 7th, and as I said, qualify for the Europa Conference League. Much better for us this season. 18 victories, 6 draws, 14 defeats, 70 goals scored, so we scored more than last season, and 61 goals conceded, so we conceded less. We also obviously tightened things up there. It's not as good as I wish it was in terms of defensively, but we are scoring a lot of goals, scoring a decent amount for a team of our caliber. We outscored Chelsea pretty comfortably. Despite them beating us in the table. QPR, Burnley and Wolves go down. Liverpool are crowned champions for a 2nd season running. Tottenham get themselves into the Champions League as well by winning the Europa League. So lots of European places falling to English teams. All in all, things going very, very well in season number 2. 81.8 million pounds to spend going into season number 3. That Premier League money is really starting to kick in, and the board are currently delighted with me. So let's go and start spending some of this 81 million pounds. So there are some outgoings from this Bournemouth squad that I do need to speak to you about. We let David Brooks go to Lyon in Mexico for £7.25 million. Now, I know this guy is a Bournemouth stalwart. He's been here a long time, but this guy is made out of glass. He has been injured so much for us. If we go into his career, last season, that was it. Lyon, we'd already let him go. Played twice for us in the Premier League that season. Played 22 times the season before. I just need someone a little bit more consistent. I'm sorry, Bournemouth fans, but he has gone over to Mexico. We've also sold Marcus Tavernier. Obviously, he comes in this summer as a recent signing. He goes to Huddersfield as well for £1.9 million. In terms of some of the other outgoings, Kiefer Moore, unfortunately, has gone. I believe that's over to Korea now. He's gone on to the Republic of Korea, so he is now playing over in Korea, which is fair play to him. In terms of some of the incomings, though, we have picked up Tommy Doyle coming in from Manchester City, £14 million for this guy. Super well-rounded. I think he's just basically the Brooks replacement in this team, but I think obviously he's younger, he's 22 years of age, and he doesn't get injured anywhere near as much. Zabarini comes in as a young option at centre-back. Now, this guy has a 5-star potential. He is a big dude. He's 6'2", really nice and physical, great composure, good positioning, great in the air. Another good centre-back to hopefully round us off in that position. We've got a lot of depth there now, so I think he can come in and be a nice option for us. He came in from Dynamo Kiev for £30.5 million. We did have 80 million to spend, so let's start spending some of it. We also go out and sign Sergio Gomez. Now, this guy's actually agreed a deal with Manchester City at the time of recording to go and join them. Really nice player, very attacking for where I'm looking at playing him. I'm either going to play him as a winger on support duty out on this side because he's got great crossing and great first touch, or he can also play left back, but he does have 8 tackling for that. Really nice little player, hoping he can be creative, and hopefully we get him some Spanish caps whilst he's here with us as well. And then we've got Martin Satriano comes in from Inter on a free transfer. Now, this guy I've seen in simulations win Ballon d'Ors. I've also seen him be absolutely terrible, so I'm not really sure which version of Martin Satriano we are getting. However, I could not get him a work permit, so he has gone out to Werder Bremen in Germany to get himself that work permit, and hopefully he gets that pretty darn soon, and then we can call him back, and next season he will be a regular in this squad. So in terms of the team, this is how things are looking if we quick pick without restriction. We've got Travers, Stacey, Zabariani alongside Mepham, Lloyd Kelly there as left back, Lerma and Ravella, Yusuf Demir, Christie still going strong, Watkins and Solanke, but we've definitely got a lot more depth in terms of this team now, and I'm hoping we can kind of push on. And obviously we do have the Europa Conference League, which the board expect us to get to the second knockout round of, but I always say with the Europa Conference League, it's so stacked heavily in favour of like English teams, for instance. I'd always like to go a little bit further. They want us to get into the 5th round of the FA Cup, the 4th round of the Carabao Cup, and again, just avoid relegation from the Premier League. Just staying in the Prem is kind of the main thing for us. If we go on to that season preview, we are predicted to finish in 12th. We do have Europa Conference League football, so that may cause us some troubles. 200 to 1 is the shortest our odds have been in the 3 seasons thus far, so hopefully we can go on and do the business. Let's simulate season 3 and see how it goes. So, mixed bag for season number 3. I'm just going to bring up the competition screen now, and we got to the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. We were knocked out by Nottingham Forest. We were runners-up in the FA Cup. We lost the FA Cup final 2-1 to Liverpool. Now, Ravella scored for us. Luis Diaz and Bobby Firmino with the goals for Liverpool, who have brought in Declan Rice. I don't know if that's a sign of things to come. They've also got John Stones, Theo Hernandez, and Dumfries there playing Trent in midfield, which is a very interesting option. So we lost the FA Cup final there. We did win the Europa Conference League, though, beating FC Copenhagen in the final. Now, this is what I will say about the Europa Conference League, potentially. It is so heavily favoured for teams in England because of the cash that comes in. The budget difference between Bournemouth and Copenhagen is sickening, and as you can see, Arsenal and Bournemouth, it's basically all the winners of this competition, right, are teams from major leagues. So it was kind of brought in and introduced for the smaller nations to get European football, and it seems like the bigger sort of teams from bigger nations are going to win this trophy. But that does mean we have Europa League football, which is just as well, because we had an awful season in the Premier League and we finished down in 14th. But we do obviously qualify for the Europa League by winning the Conference League. Liverpool secure their 3rd title in a row. I don't know if this is anything to go by for real life football. West Brom, Middlesbrough and Stoke City all relegated. But yeah, -6 goal difference, 13 victories, 10 draws, 15 defeats. Now I know that can change quite comfortably if we turn half of those draws into victories, but we didn't. We weren't good enough, and the fact that we had a -6 goal difference is a problem. So we will be playing Europa League football next season. We've got a nice overall club balance, and we've got another £66 million to spend going into season number 4 of this rebuild. So it's going to be interesting to see what we do here. Obviously, it seems like we're still lacking at the back if we are conceding this many goals. Let's see what we can do. So transfer update into season number 4. The main outgoing that we need to talk about is Ryan Christie. The Scottish international has gone to Sheffield United after playing 100 times for Bournemouth in terms of league competition, 300 overall appearances in his career. He has gone on to Sheffield United for £7.5 million. He was unhappy with the amount of game time he was getting, and I can kind of see why. So he has gone to Sheffield United, who are going to be in the Premier League this season. I will touch on Satriano. He did get his work permit. He is now back at Bournemouth, which is almost like a new signing. We've gone out and signed this guy, 𝘼𝙗𝙤𝙪 Italian goalkeeper, 28 years of age. It's kind of solid but unspectacular in terms of being in goal. Seems okay. Potentially a little bit of an upgrade on Mark Travers. I'm hoping maybe the goalkeeper upgrade helps us next season. He's been bouncing between Serie A and Serie B. He's obviously was relegated with Empoli in that first season, but they did come back up, and then they had another season in Serie A where he got a 7.14, which I think is actually quite a good rating for a goalkeeper. We also brought in Felipe Cruz. Now, this guy usually comes out of Benfica, but in this particular save was at Bayern Munich. I love this guy. Very well-rounded fullback, young, very athletic, and usually you can pick him up for quite cheap. Unfortunately, because he'd moved to Bayern, I had to pay £27.5 million for him. He played a whole season for Bayern's second team in the 3rd tier last year, 7.06 rating, so it's going to be a bit of a step up into the Premier League, but I think this guy is capable of doing it. Everybody's favourite Italian centre-back, Andrea Papetti, joins the club for £3.5 million. Not actually signed Papetti a lot this year. He was very key and instrumental on FM21, so it's going to be interesting to see how he does. Obviously, he comes in from Brescia for £3.5 million, having played a full season in Serie A last year. We picked him up because he was on a relegation release clause for that £3.5 million. And then the money that we spent a lot of money on, the player we spent a lot of money on, was Jonathan David, the Canadian, comes in from Lille. Now, the main reason I brought him in, he is a natural in all three of my 4 attacking positions, so I'm looking forward to him being a little bit of a versatility option. £22 million he comes in for. He had a very good season for Lille last year, obviously won the French league with Lille in real life, so we have a nice depth options into this team as well. We've upgraded at goalkeeper, so I'm hoping we keep the ball out of the back of our net a little bit now. We've got 𝘼𝙗𝙪, Stacey, Mepham, Papetti, Lloyd Kelly, who has turned into an absolute monster, to be honest. I'm really enjoying Lloyd Kelly here. He's also club captain. I don't know if that is how it is in real life at Bournemouth, but he's now our club captain. Lerma, Ravella, Demir, Gomez, Solanke and Watkins are the players in our best 11 according to my assistant manager. The competitions, of course, we do have the Europa League as winners of the Europa Conference League last season, FA Cup, Carabao Cup. The board wants us to reach a second knockout round of the Europa League and also finish in mid-table for the Premier League. So if we go on to the season preview this time around, we are 150 to 1. We are getting better season on season and we are now predicted to finish in 10th. So actually a pretty darn good season if you ask me, if we progress, but I have a feeling the Europa League is going to be a little bit of a stretch for us. So we're going to simulate season 4 and let's see how we get on. So guys, I don't know what to say about season number 4. It turns out I've built a tactic which is really good for cups but not very good for anything else in terms of league positioning. We won the Carabao Cup. Let's talk about the Carabao Cup first. We win the Carabao Cup 3-0 in that final. We beat Arsenal, which is pretty nice. Ollie Watkins scoring in the opening minute, Dominic Solanke and then Reiss Nelson, the former Arsenal man, getting the goals there. And it's a very interesting new look Arsenal side, but that front three of Saka, Martinelli and Martin Odegaard not doing very well for them in this particular instance. So we lift the Carabao Cup. So we get our hands on some silverware to match the Europa Conference League from last season. And I just don't know what to say. We won the bloody Europa League, guys. Following in the footsteps of Chelsea and Spurs, who have won it the last few seasons. So we will be playing Champions League football for season number 5. We beat Arsenal in that final again. Martinelli with the 90th minute, but Solanke and Reiss Nelson again, the former Arsenal man, coming back to haunt them. I don't know who the Arsenal manager is. It's now Antonio Conte. What world are we living in? He has gone from Tottenham to Real Madrid to Arsenal. This is ludicrous scenes here, but we do get the job done, and they've got my guy Maxi Gomez up top. I love Maxi Gomez. But in terms of the cup competitions, very good. In terms of the league, not great. We finished in 13th. We do have a positive goal difference. I just think playing in Europe into these deep runs is really causing us some trouble. As you can see, our recent form towards the end of the season, it's super patchy at best. But ultimately, Premier League is our bread and butter. But as long as we stay in the Premier League, I'm not actually too worried about it. We did finish in 13th, as I said. Positive goal difference, which is better than the 3 teams above us. But still some work to do going into season number 5 as Liverpool secure their 4th title in a row. Going into season number 5, we do have £65.6 million on the go, and I do have something to touch on. They are building me a new stadium, which will be ready come the end of season 5. It is called the 𝘼𝙗𝙤 Arena or 𝘼𝙗𝙤 Stadium. I can't remember what it's called, so it's named after Eddie Howe. But a new stadium is coming in the way for Bournemouth. Champions League going into season number 5 for Bournemouth. I'm gonna take it. So you know what we do, guys. If you are still watching this video at this point and you are enjoying it, please do comment down below Scott Parker's Barmy Army. Now obviously the Cherries did start their Premier League season with a bang, with a victory, 3 points at home. So Scott Parker's Barmy Army is the comment I want you guys to drop in down below if you are still watching right now. But it's season 5 time, going into this last season of this rebuild with AFC Bournemouth. We have a lot to talk about. In the first instance, let's talk about players that are outgoing. Mark Travers has gone to Wolfsburg. He wasn't getting enough game time, obviously, because we signed that new goalkeeper. He has gone to Wolfsburg for 10.25 million. Jefferson Lerma has gone. He has gone to Sampdoria as well. Again, we had a lot of players who wanted to leave because they weren't getting enough game time. A long-time servant at Bournemouth, but Jefferson Lerma has gone, £12.5 million. He will be playing in the Serie A next season. Another player who's playing in the Serie A next season is Matteo Lovato. Now, he came in for a little bit of a cheap fee, and he's kind of developed quite nicely, and he's now a Napoli player. Napoli spending £34.5 million on him, which could rise to £38.5 million for him. He's been pretty good for us in the time that he's been at the Premier League, but only played 14 times last year because we do have those centre-back options for us, which is quite nice to see. So we kind of cashed in on him, made a nice little profit on him in the meantime. Philip Billing is another player who's gone. He's been at the club a long time as well, bounced it up and down in the Premier League and the Championship with Bournemouth, but he is now gone. He is now at Standard Liège. They paid £12 million for him. Again, another player who just wasn't getting enough football last season. Then we've got a young player, a new gen, who's gone out on loan. But first of all, let's talk about the players in. The first major player in that I want to talk to you guys about is Conor Gallagher. Now, he has been back at Chelsea in this instance. Because of the loan spell not happening at Crystal Palace. That's why it's not in his record. But he's barely been playing for Chelsea. We all know the kind of player that Conor Gallagher can be. £22.5 million he comes in to be another body in that midfield. Also players that we brought in this guy, Vinnie Court. Now this is a new gen guy, so please do be aware that this isn't a real person despite having a real face. That is using Zealand's new GAN face pack. But he looks exceptional. 16 for his heading, really nice physicals as well. 6'2", good positioning, good leader as well. Comes in as a squad player from Charlton. We paid a little bit of money for him, £3.3 million. They were down in League One, so good pick up there. We needed a big man, and there is only one big man in this year's Football Manager that I have any interest in. It is Lorenzo Luca. He comes in. He was transfer listed by Fiorentina for they bought him for 7.5. We paid £21 million for him. Some of that is in installments, guys. He played a full season for Fiorentina in Serie A last year. Didn't really set the world alight with only 7 goals. I think we can get him to return a lot more than that. Then we go into some of the new gens that we've picked up. Now, Wilson Roberto is a youngster coming in from Brazil. Good jumping reach, 6'4", 16 jumping reach, good balance as well. Potential 4.5 star. Again, this is kind of one for the future. Now you can kind of see where I'm tailoring this save for you guys going into this 5th and final season. Valencia comes in, another youngster. He is Croatian. He has gone out on loan as well to Victoria Plzeň. So hoping he could be a potential player in the future. We've also signed this guy, Dutch winger Steven de Vrij. It's how I'm going to say this guy's name. Good determination on the guy, good personality as well, determined personality, so you know he's going to get better. He is probably going to go out on loan this season because I don't think he's going to get into that first team 11, but you can, as I said, you can kind of see what we're doing here. We got this guy as well, Daniel Kuki, Danjel Kuki. Now I thought this guy was going to be better than he was. Doesn't necessarily have the potential. Also, I didn't notice that he only had 5 concentration. He may get better, he may not. We didn't pay a huge amount for him, £4.4 million again, coming out of the Croatian league. And then this is the last one, guys. Mikel Dennis comes in, and he will be my backup goalkeeper, I think, this year. Looks like a good prospect at 19 years of age, coming in from Club Bruges. But obviously we know goalkeepers don't get into their stride until a lot later in the game. So in terms of the tactic and how the team is looking for this final season, without restriction, our best 11 looks a little something like this. So we've got Vicario in goal, Cruz, Papetti, Mepham, who is still here, Lloyd Kelly, who is still here, Conor Gallagher alongside Nico Ravella as the box-to-box midfielders. I think these guys can do really well. Yusuf Demir still here, Gomez, Luca, and Jonathan David are the team. I'm actually really happy with this team because we do have Champions League football to contend with. We've also got the Super Cup as Europa League winners. The board don't care. We're gonna play Barca. We're probably gonna get dominated. They want us to reach the quarterfinals of both domestic cup competitions, both the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. And the board expectation in the Premier League is to finish in mid-table. Obviously, I think the Champions League is going to be an issue for us, but we are now 50-1 to potentially win the league. And we have climbed up to 8th in the rankings in terms of where the media prediction think we're going to fit. So fingers crossed we can have a good year. Let's hope we don't embarrass ourselves in the Champions League, and let's simulate and see how we get on. So the final season then is in the books for Bournemouth. In terms of the cups and stuff, we finished in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup. We got knocked out by West Ham. 5th rounded in the FA Cup by Southampton. Of course, we were runners-up in the UEFA Super Cup, losing 4-1 to Barcelona. Who is surprised there? We were knocked out in the quarterfinals of the Champions League, ultimately by Spurs, which is actually quite disappointing. We were knocked out 3-2 on aggregate by Tottenham. What do we think of Tottenham? I hate Tottenham in this game, but unfortunately knocked out in the quarterfinal stage. But that is no embarrassing feat to get to the quarterfinals of the Champions League as a club the size of Bournemouth. I think we've done really, really well. And then in the Premier League, we did finish in 9th. So the first time we've been in the top half for a couple seasons. Haaland did score 43 goals in the Premier League for Manchester City, who went on to win the Premier League at a canter. Liverpool have completely fallen off after winning their last 4 trophies. Middlesbrough, West Brom and Brentford get relegated. Brentford do win the Europa Conference League though, so we'll be playing Europa League football in the Championship next season. We do finish in 9th, 18 victories, 6 draws, 14 losses, plus 10 in terms of the goal difference, 60 points, 6 points outside the top 7 and 10 points outside of the top 6 to get that Europa League qualification. Something crazy has happened here. I don't understand what is going on. Newcastle finishing 4th but get the Europa League. Liverpool with Pep obviously as their manager. Why wouldn't they have Pep Guardiola as their manager? Liverpool get into the Champions League next season by winning the Champions League final. Oh my god. And then Chelsea, I assume, won the Europa League. Yes, they did. They win the Europa League final, beating Man City. So Newcastle finishing 4th but only qualified for the Europa League because Liverpool won, because the English teams win all the competitions in Europe, which is absolutely crazy. I will say the new stadium is almost finished. It will finish in, what is that? 19 in-game days. So if you are a Bournemouth fan and you want to pick up this save for yourself, please do so by joining my Discord. Down in the description there will be a link at the top to join the Discord community. I put the saves for these rebuilds in there so you guys can take a look at them and carry them on if you do want to. And if you like the rebuild content, guys, please do check out this playlist. It's going to be popping up now, which is all my rebuilds for FM22.